Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Gretchen Pianka, and in this episode I'm going to share with you the still face experiments that have been going on since the 1970s and why you need to know about them as a parent and how you can help with what happens when we briefly disconnect from our children. So think about it. Think about what happens. Has this happened to you? Have you had a moment of disconnection with your kids where maybe you stopped to check your phone or you had to fix something for dinner and then you came back and you thought things had just fallen apart, like things were going fine before, and now suddenly everything's falling apart. So when you look at it with this lens, that it's not so much that things have quote unquote fallen apart, but it's that the child is trying to make meaning out of the disconnection, and what they need is for you to help them in that reconnecting, that what Dr. Tronick refers to as the reunion. And a lot of people have studied this since those studies in the 1970s. Happy to share more resources and more references if you want. But they have learned that it's the same kind of thing can happen when you're just checking your phone. Like I said, it's not just moms, it's dads too. And it happens with children even as they age. They've studied 2.5-year-olds. And obviously, as you can imagine, a 2.5-year-old who becomes dysregulated and can't control their body may hit or do something even worse with their physical behavior. They may throw a tantrum. And so seeing those moments not as just they're trying to ruin the day, but as they're trying to make meaning out of the disconnection and realize that the repair is crucial. And in studies, they have shown that The best parent, so the good enough parents, a parent who is doing a good job, only tunes into their child's needs about 30% of the time. The rest of the time, we don't get it right, and then we repair it later. So that is the big take-home message here, is that it's okay when you get it wrong. It's just about repairing. So not going to that space that Tronick referred to as the ugly, but just alternating between the good and the bad, because that is just like normal life. So what can you do? What can you do when you feel like this is happening and maybe you're not quite sure what you're supposed to be doing? Maybe you feel as though you're failing as a parent. Maybe you feel like things just aren't going well. So first of all, be mindful when you use your phone or when you check the dinner on the stove or whatever it is you need to do, that you are disconnecting briefly from your child and that interaction, and that this might lead to behaviors. So look for the feelings behind the behaviors. Don't assume that your child is trying to manipulate you. Don't assume that they're trying to ruin the day. Remember, you need to take care of your own feelings, and that is the next one. Regulate yourself. Take care of yourself so that you can respond to how your child is feeling. So imagine if that mom in the video, if when the child is getting upset, and when she goes back to reconnecting, if instead of being compassionate and trying to help the child calm their nervous system, if she starts saying, well, why are you manipulating me? I was just checking my phone. What the heck is your problem? If she has that kind of response, which we sometimes do as parents, especially when we're stressed and frustrated, right? If you have that kind of response, then you end up in that ugly space where the child never gets to reconnect and make meaning out of this. And they start to think, oh my God, what has happened? And remember, last but not least, the word discipline refers to teaching. So as your children are growing, when you disconnect and you reconnect, if they have behaved in a way that you don't want them to behave in the future, your job is to help explain to them kind of what was going on, allow them to make meaning out of it, and help them to find a different way to take care of themselves when they feel that disconnection, fear, and feel as though their world is falling apart. And if you're having a hard time breaking all that down into, well, how do I change my actual habits? Like if you need an actual process and a system to change the way that you're responding to your kids, you can try this. I use this with families in my office. So I call it Sunbeam just as a mnemonic to remember in your brain. So the S stands for C. C, that your child's behavior is actually bringing up an unpleasant feeling in you. Pause, unhook for a second. Like, don't take the bait. Like if you think they're trying to ruin your day, probably that's just not helpful. So try to unhook from that response. And then instead, the N is for nurture. So nurturing refers to picking one of these three things, the beam and the sunbeam. Breathing exercises, emotional awareness, just knowing this feeling's going to come and go. It's not going to last forever, and you don't want to affect your long-term relationship and your child's long-term mental health by how you respond, right? None of us want to do that. You can also use brief meditation skills and brief mindfulness practices. So breathing, that can look like anything. So sometimes just taking 5 big deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. You can do box breathing, which is where you breathe in 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, wait 2, 3, 4. That's what the Navy SEALs do. And you can also use 4-7-8 breathing, where you breathe in to the count of 4, hold it to the count of 7, and breathe out to the count of 8. Meditation skills, you can just allow your eyes to rest. You can make, I make glitter jars with kids. That's why it says glitter in here. So allow your eyes to just rest on something that's just lightly moving. Like if you're outside, it can be the sun coming through the leaves on the tree. It can be the glitter in a glitter jar. And that is also on my YouTube channel if you'd like to know how to make those. It can just be on the flame of a candle or something. You can literally rest your eyes on anything. And you can download the virtual glitter jar on your phone so you can use that when you're on the go. It's helpful for kids too. 2-year-olds can benefit from this. And then mindfulness. You can use mindfulness at any point to help soothe a dysregulated nervous system, whether it's yours or your child's. So if you're feeling really yucky, you can just like scan the room and find things that are blue. Find all the things in the room that are blue, all the things in the room that are yellow, things like that. If you're sitting in an office, say you're sitting in a waiting room, waiting for the doctor or waiting for something, or you're waiting for a meeting with a teacher and your child's getting like kind of dysregulated, Maybe you check your phone because that helps you when you're having a hard time waiting. But what's your child going to do? So you can have them find the alphabet in the letters on the wall. These mindfulness techniques are bringing in safe sensory information into your brain, to the part of your brain that allows you, instead of going to fight or flight and be like, stop it, you're ruining my day, you're going to make this horrible, why are you behaving like that? Not so helpful, to what we call affiliating responses. And affiliate responses mean that you reach back towards your child like the mom did in that video and reconnect. So if she had gotten scared of how her child was acting, she might have started yelling or something, and it hasn't gone well, and maybe they never reconnected. They didn't have that essential repair. Okay? And you can also use your body to do mindfulness, so you can just sit there. Nobody has to know you're doing it. You start with your toes and you check in with your toes, and you very slowly go up your body. So how are my toes feeling? How are my feet feeling? My ankles, my calves, my knees, my thighs, my stomach, my heart, my lungs, my hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders, neck, jaw, head, eyes, nose, mouth. Okay? And if you're struggling or you'd like more resources, please feel free to check out my website, resilience-university.com. I'm on all of the socials and at Dr._Pianka. And then I also have a free parenting course, which you can check out as well, which will help you expand your parenting comfort zone. So things that feel uncomfortable now don't always have to feel uncomfortable. Good luck. You've got this. Embody your inner gentle parent and go get your hug from the universe.